Bigfoot horror story, The Night. It followed me home. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel. If you've been searching for a Bigfoot horror story that feels too real, the kind that makes you question every snap of a twig outside your window after dark, this is the one. Tonight, I'm telling you the Bigfoot horror story that still keeps me checking the tree line before I close the blinds every night. This isn't the classic blurry footprint legend or campfire tale with a happy ending. This Bigfoot horror story is slow, personal, and unrelenting about something massive, intelligent, and patient that decides you're worth following. Settle in, keep the room dark, and whatever you do, don't look out your window while you listen. Not until the end. It started in late October. The kind of fall where the air smells like wet pine and wood smoke even when no one's burning anything. I was living in a small rental cabin on the edge of the Ocala National Forest, just north of St. John's. Florida, not deep wilderness, but far enough from town that the nearest neighbor was a half-mile dirt road away. I'd moved there for quiet after a bad breakup, figuring a few months of solitude, fishing, and freelance writing would reset me. The place was cheap, furnished, and came with a warning from the landlord. Stay on the marked trails after dark. People get turned around easy out there. I laughed it off. I'd grown up hearing the usual Florida Bigfoot stories, skunk ape sightings near the Everglades, hairy shapes crossing highways at night. But those were always somewhere else, never here. The forest around the cabin was mostly scrub oak, palmetto, and longleaf pine, not the dense Pacific Northwest old-growth people associate with Sasquatch. Still, the woods felt old, heavy, like they'd been watching longer than any of us had been alive. The first sign was small. I found footprints one morning near the back porch. Not human. Too wide. Too deep. With a mid-tarsal break that made the print look almost like two separate pieces. I measured it against my size 12 boot, easily 18 inches long. I took a photo, laughed nervously, told myself it was probably a bear that had walked funny on soft ground. But bears don't leave single prints like that. And bears don't stand upright to peer through your kitchen window at 3 in the morning. I woke up to that the next night. Not a noise, just the unmistakable pressure of being watched. I rolled over in bed, eyes half open, and saw it. A dark shape filling the entire lower half of the window frame. Tall, wider than any man. No face visible, just a silhouette against the moonlight. It didn't move. Didn't breathe loud enough to hear. It simply stood there for maybe 10 seconds, then stepped sideways out of view so smoothly it felt rehearsed. My heart slammed against my ribs. I stayed frozen under the blanket until dawn. When I checked outside, there were fresh prints pressed deep into the sandy soil right below the window. Same size, same strange break in the middle of the foot. I started locking everything. Deadbolts, windows, even the flimsy screen door. I kept the porch light on all night. I told myself it was a person messing with me, some local kid in a suit, or a hunter playing a prank. But deep down, I knew better. Whatever it was moved too quietly for a clumsy costume. And it smelled. Not skunk, ape, stink, like the legends say, just wet earth, crushed ferns, and something musky and alive that lingered in the air long after it left. The encounters escalated slowly, deliberately, like it was testing boundaries. Branches snapped outside the cabin at predictable times, always around 11:30, always in the same pattern. 3 quick cracks, pause, 1 long one. Tree knocks. I'd read about them online in sleepless panic scrolls at 2 a.m. I started recording audio on my phone. The files captured the knocks, distant whoops that rose and fell like a low siren, and once a soft guttural vocalization that sounded almost like speech, but in no language I knew. It ended with a long, drawn-out sigh that raised every hair on my arms. Then, it started leaving things. A perfect circle of small stones arranged on the welcome mat one morning. A single deer antler placed upright in the middle of the fire pit, like an offering or a marker. A handful of palmetto fronds, braided into a rough knot and hung from the doorknob. Each time I found something new, the prints were fresher, closer. One afternoon I came home from the store and found the back door ajar. Not forced, just unlatched. Inside, every cabinet door stood open. Drawers pulled out. My clothes from the dresser laid out on the floor in neat rows, as though it had been inspecting them, learning my scent. I stopped sleeping. I sat up with the shotgun across my lap, lights blazing, TV on low for noise. But the cabin felt smaller every night, the walls thinner, and always, around midnight, the knocks would start again. Closer now, just beyond the tree line. The breaking point came on a moonless Wednesday. I was in the kitchen making coffee at 1 in the morning when the power cut out. Not a flicker, complete blackout. The silence was sudden and total. No crickets, no wind. Just my own breathing. And the tick of the wall clock running on battery. I grabbed the flashlight, flicked it on, and aimed it toward the living room window. It was there. Pressed against the glass. So close, the fog of its breath clouded the pane. Massive shoulders blocking out the night. A face barely visible in the beam, covered in dark, matted hair. Eyes reflecting red like a deer's, but higher, wider apart, intelligent. It didn't blink. It watched me the way a person watches something fragile they're deciding whether to crush or keep. I dropped the flashlight. It clattered and rolled, beams spinning wildly across the ceiling. When I snatched it back up, the window was empty. But the glass was smeared long streaks from huge palms that had pressed flat against it, fingers splayed wider than any human hand. I ran to the bedroom, locked the door, shoved the dresser against it. I called 911. The dispatcher said they'd send someone, but the nearest deputy was 20 minutes out. I sat on the floor with the shotgun, listening. Minutes dragged. Then I heard it. Footsteps circling the cabin. Slow. Heavy. Each one deliberate, like it wanted me to feel the weight. It passed the bedroom window. Paused. I saw the silhouette again. Taller than the frame. Head tilted. Listening back. The knocks started again. Not on trees this time. On the side of the house. 3 quick, 1 long, then silence. Then the same pattern on the opposite wall. It was circling, marking territory, letting me know it knew exactly where I was. The deputy arrived just before dawn lights flashing, no siren. He found prints all around the cabin, some overlapping the ones from previous nights. He found the braided fronds still hanging on the doorknob. He didn't laugh. He didn't say it was a bear or a prank. He just looked at me and said quietly, "Pack what you need. Don't come back after dark." I left that morning, drove straight to a motel in town. Never went back for the rest of my things. The landlord texted a week later, saying the cabin was trashed, doors torn off hinges, furniture overturned, every window smeared with the same long handprints. He didn't ask questions. He just listed it as uninhabitable. I still live in St. John's, but closer to lights and people now. I don't camp. I don't hike alone. And every night around 11:30, no matter where I am, I catch myself listening for those knocks. 3 quick. Pause. 1 long. Sometimes I hear them. Sometimes I don't. But I always check the corners of the room before I turn off the light. Because this Bigfoot horror story isn't over. It's just waiting for me to step outside again. That's the Bigfoot horror story of the thing that followed me home. Patient, silent, and smarter than we want to believe. If this one crawled under your skin and stayed there, smash that like button right now. Subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another long, terrifying Bigfoot horror story or any of the other nightmares we tell here. Subscribing means these full-length chills drop straight into your feed. Don't let the next one sneak up on you. Do it now. Drop a comment below. Have you ever heard tree knocks at night? Or felt something watching from the woods? Would you stay in that cabin one more night? Or are you gone at the first print? Tell me everything. Thanks for listening all the way through the dark. Sleep careful tonight. And check your windows. I'll see you in the next one.